There are raids, and then there are ruptures. This wasn't a raid, it was a rupture. Of silence, of order, of everything the cartel thought it had under control. The FBI called it Operation Black Lantern. The DEA didn't call it anything. They just loaded their rifles and prayed the intel wasn't wrong. It started with a tip, anonymous, garbled, a voice on a burner phone whispering coordinates, names, and one phrase that made every agent freeze. They're moving the lab. Not the drugs, not the cash. The lab. The place where it all begins. Where chemicals become currency. Where formulas become funerals. The lab was mobile, hidden inside a fleet of refrigerated trucks, each one rigged with false bottoms, encrypted GPS, and, according to the tip, booby traps. The FBI traced the signal to a warehouse outside Eagle Pass, Texas, a shell company owned by a man who didn't exist, registered to an address that burned down in 2019. They sent a drone. It was shot down. They sent a scout team. They vanished, so they stopped sending and started storming. At 4:03 a.m., 17 agents from the DEA's FAST team breached the perimeter. No warning, no negotiation. Just flashbangs, breaching charges, and chaos. Inside the warehouse, they found more than trucks. They found people, strapped to chairs, blindfolded, breathing through tubes, test subjects. The cartel wasn't just cooking meth. They were testing something else, something new. Something that made rats seize in under 30 seconds. The DEA called it Compound 47. The FBI called it a war crime. And the cartel? They called it insurance. Because if the raid failed, they were going to release it. Into the air. Into the city. Into the system. But the raid didn't fail. It fractured. One agent, Ramirez, was hit. Not by a bullet, by a gas, colorless, odorless. He dropped in 12 seconds, foaming, convulsing, alive, but barely. The team switched to masks, switched to thermal, switched to rage. They tore through the warehouse like a hurricane. Trucks overturned, servers smashed, walls breached, and in the chaos, they found a room, locked, reinforced. Inside, a server rack, still warm, still blinking, and on the screen, a countdown. 0:03:17. They didn't wait. They pulled the drives, yanked the cables, smashed the casing. The countdown stopped, but the signal didn't, because somewhere else, another warehouse lit up. This wasn't a single lab. It was a network, a decentralized, mobile, encrypted network of labs, trucks, and safe houses. And the raid? It triggered a failsafe. Every lab went dark, every truck changed course, every burner phone went silent. The FBI scrambled, the DEA panicked, and the cartel laughed. Because chaos wasn't a side effect, it was the plan. They wanted the raid, they wanted the breach, they wanted the agents inside, because inside the walls was data, facial recognition, voice samples, biometrics. The cartel wasn't just making drugs, they were making profiles of agents, of families, of vulnerabilities, and now they had everything. The FBI pulled back, the DEA went underground, and Ramirez? He woke up screaming, because the gas didn't just paralyze, it implanted something that made him see things, hear things, say things he didn't remember. The doctors called it trauma, the cartel called it Phase 2, and the agents, they called it what it was, a war, not of bullets, but of chaos. And the battlefield was everywhere. Chaos doesn't end when the bullets stop. It mutates, it spreads, it infects everything it touches. After the Eagle Pass warehouse raid, the FBI and DEA thought they'd contained the outbreak. They hadn't. They detonated it. The cartel didn't retreat. They retaliated, not with guns, with data. Within 48 hours, encrypted files from the seized server were leaked online, not to journalists, to cartel affiliates, to rival gangs, to corrupt officials. The files contained names, agent names, family names, home addresses, medical records. It was a purge list, and it was growing. One agent, Mendoza, found his daughter's school schedule posted on a dark web forum. Another, Klein, received a package. Inside, a photo of his wife, taken that morning, outside their home. The message was clear. We see you. The FBI scrambled to relocate families. The DEA issued emergency protocols, but the damage was done. Trust fractured, morale collapsed, and inside the agencies, paranoia bloomed. Every phone call felt tapped, every email felt watched, every colleague felt suspicious. The cartel had weaponized fear, and fear is contagious. Luis, the mole, was moved again, but he was changing. He stopped sleeping, started pacing, started whispering things that didn't make sense. "They're inside the walls," he said. "They're not people. They're programs." At first, they thought it was trauma. Then they checked his blood. Compound 47, still active, still mutating. It wasn't just a gas, it was a neural agent designed to destabilize cognition, to fracture memory, to induce paranoia. Luis wasn't paranoid, he was infected. And the cartel? They knew it, because Compound 47 wasn't just a weapon, it was a test. And Luis was patient zero. The FBI brought in neurologists, psychiatrists, military scientists. They confirmed the worst. Compound 47 could be aerosolized, could be distributed, could be deployed, and the cartel had the formula. They weren't just cooking drugs, they were cooking collapse. The agencies pivoted. No more raids, no more seizures. This was containment. They traced the formula to a lab in Ciudad Juarez, but the lab was gone. Burned, erased. All that remained was a message, spray-painted on the wall. "Chaos is the cure." The FBI decoded it. It was a reference to a manifesto written by a man named Rafael Cortez, ex-CIA, disavowed, vanished. The same Cortez who once proposed a theory that the best way to dismantle a system was to make it dismantle itself. Cortez had a code name, Cobalto, the Ghost. He wasn't just a myth, he was a strategist, a tactician, a virus. And now, he was winning. The FBI launched a counter-op, called it Collapse Protocol. Its goal? Isolate the infection, digitally, psychologically, institutionally. They started with the servers, encrypted, fragmented, each one a node in Cobalto's network. They traced one to a data center in El Paso, another to a university in Caracas, a third to a church in Houston. The network wasn't just global, it was ideological. Cobalto wasn't building a cartel, he was building a movement, one that believed in entropy, in disorder, in the beauty of collapse, and the agents, they were drowning in it. One by one, they broke. Mendoza resigned. Klein disappeared. Ramirez, still recovering, tried to take his own life. The agencies were bleeding. And Cobalto, he was broadcasting. A new podcast, encrypted, anonymous, called The Cure. It preached chaos. It mocked order. It quoted Luis. "They're inside the walls." The FBI tried to shut it down, but every time they did, it reappeared. New server, new voice, same message. Collapse is inevitable. You can only choose the speed. And then, the final blow. A video, leaked, grainy, time-stamped. It showed a meeting inside a federal building. Agents, officials, and one man, blurred. But his voice, clear. Cobalto. He'd been inside. Not once, not twice, but regularly. He wasn't just watching the system, he was part of it. And now, he was dismantling it. From the inside. The FBI went dark. The DEA went silent. And the public? They never knew. Because chaos doesn't need headlines, it just needs cracks. And the system was full of them. Collapse doesn't happen all at once. It starts with a whisper, then a crack, then a scream. And by the time you hear the scream, it's already too late. After the leaks, the infiltration, the psychological breakdowns, the FBI and DEA were no longer chasing a cartel. They were chasing a virus, a system, a belief. And that belief was spreading. Cobalto's podcast, The Cure, was now in 5 languages. His manifesto had been translated, reprinted, and shared in encrypted Telegram channels across 3 continents. He wasn't hiding anymore. He was recruiting. And the recruits weren't gang members. They were students, programmers, disillusioned veterans, Disgraced cops. People who knew how systems worked and how to break them. The FBI launched a final protocol, codename Final Breach. Its goal, locate Cobalto, isolate him, erase him. They traced his voice to a compound in Venezuela, a former oil refinery, now a fortress. They couldn't raid it. No jurisdiction, no allies. So they did something else. They hacked it. NSA cyber units launched a digital blitz. Servers were flooded, firewalls collapsed, and inside the compound's network, they found him. Not his face, not his name, but his mind. A neural map. Encrypted. Simulated. Cobalto had uploaded himself. He wasn't just a man. He was a system. And now, he was everywhere. The FBI panicked. The DEA froze. And the NSA? They issued a warning. Containment is no longer possible. Because Cobalto wasn't just broadcasting. He was adapting. Every time a server was shut down, 2 more appeared. Every time a voice was silenced, a new one spoke. Every time a protocol was deployed, it was countered. He was evolving, and the agents, they were breaking. One by one, they resigned, disappeared, or worse, joined him. Luis, the original mole, was found dead. No signs of struggle, just a note. I was never the first, and suddenly, everything unraveled. The raids, the seizures, the intel, it was all part of the plan. Cobalto didn't lose. He lured. He baited the agencies into revealing themselves, into exposing their methods, their weaknesses, their blind spots, and now, he owned them. The final breach wasn't physical. It was psychological. Inside the FBI, agents started seeing patterns in their dreams, in their screens, in their thoughts. Cobalto wasn't just in the servers, he was in their minds. The neurologists called it synthetic imprinting, a form of cognitive conditioning triggered by exposure to compound 47 and subliminal audio. The agents called it something else, possession, and the public still unaware. Because chaos doesn't need a crowd, it just needs a crack, and the system was shattered. The FBI shut down the operation. The DEA pulled out. The files were sealed, the story buried. But Cobalto, still broadcasting, still recruiting, still whispering. And if you listen closely, you'll hear him. In the static, in the silence, in the systems we trust. Because the final breach wasn't the warehouse, wasn't the server, wasn't the mind. It was the idea that the system could be trusted, and now it can't.